Good morning, good afternoon, depending on what part of the country you're in. So today we're going to walk you through Sage Service Operations, but specifically we're going to focus on some of the time capture functionality for construction jobs. Historically, Sage Service Ops has addressed work orders, but it now also has support for the last couple of years for those jobs. So I'd like to start off here on just a quick kind of high-level overview. How does this work with my existing Sage 100 Contractor system? So on the bottom left-hand side of the screen here, this represents Sage 100 Contractor. Maybe that's installed on a server somewhere in your office. And what Sage Service Ops does is it allows that information locked up in your system via the internet to be accessed by your field employees. So if you have a superintendent that's on a job, and let's say you attach a photo to a daily field report, they can see that photo in the field. Or if you had a superintendent or any employee in the field that needed to document their time, we can capture their time, and it flows through the internet back into your Sage 100 Contractor database. It actually is stored in 5.5.1, which is daily payroll entry. All right. But there are different features, as I mentioned before, but today we're going to focus on more of the job-related functionality, specifically scheduling jobs, time capture on jobs, and I'll also talk about some of the newer features available, such as the ability to initiate a change order, RFI, request for proposal from the field directly in the product. And I'll also show you the integration back to 100 Contractor. Just a couple of quick slides. The product does work on both smartphones and tablets. Obviously, if you're on a smartphone, you can have the big buttons. And on a tablet, we take advantage of the larger screen real estate. And finally, we are going to talk about time entry today. And I can't stress enough that every company is unique as to how they want to capture time in the field. Some companies have a superintendent capture time for the whole entire team. Others want each individual team member to capture time. Some companies want to enforce punch in and punch out. Others don't. We essentially can accommodate not all but most workflows. We continue to extend the functionality and the flexibility of the product. But just quickly, high level, the two most common workflows would be punch actions, where we could track an activity such as working or not working or traveling. And the other one would be what we call standard time entry on the right-hand side of the screen, where I could simply select my cost code, enter my hours, and hit enter and document the time. So I just want to let everybody know that we do have some flexibility in how we apply that. All right. So with that said, let's jump right into the product. And I'm going to start off kind of on the schedule side of things. So our scheduling feature supports not just work orders, but it also supports job scheduling. So if you did want to schedule out your projects, you could search for a job. So here's a job that is set up in receivables in 100 Contractor. We're displaying all of the cost codes that have labor associated with them. So here's a cost code for wall framing. We have 6.25 hours on the budget in 100 Contractor and 72 hours of actual incurred, so we're over budget. But let's just go ahead and schedule myself here on this activity. And when I do that, we actually create an assignment. Think of an assignment as an event on your Outlook calendar. We're doing the same thing. We're just simply saying Jay needs to be at Lamb Shoes to work on this cost code for this many hours. And if Jay needed to work there for a couple of days, we can just stretch it out, just like in Excel, to try to make it super simple. We have a weekly view. If we wanted to dial into more of a daily view, we can do that. We can have more of a bird's eye view for the month to see what's going on. But let's go back to the weekly view. Also on our account schedule view, we have the ability not just to see employees, but we can see vendors and equipment. And you need to own the equipment module in 100 Contractor to see that. But I could say, hey, I want everybody to know that I'm using this, strato lift on Monday. So anybody that has the strato lift on their schedule will now know that it's already reserved for the Lamb Shoes project. So it's a great way to have visibility into your resources and what's going on. A couple other things, I can hover over J here and I can see more details. You can actually store their skills or additional information about J. You can put a mugshot in there so you can see what they look like. You can also drill into that assignment if needed, so I can see, where am I going, what am I doing type of detail. So in this case, I'm scheduled to work between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. We could add additional details under the description here, which would show up for Jay when he brings this up on his smartphone. So let's kind of change hats a little bit. I just kind of showed you an optional feature. You don't need to use the scheduling feature. I just showed you a little bit about what the scheduling feature is all about, and if you wanted to, you could deploy that for your organization to schedule employees on construction jobs by activity. Now I'm going to pretend I am an employee in the field and walk through a few of the basic time capture options. And I'm going to log in as if I'm on a tablet first. All right, so if I'm on a tablet, I can log in here, and this brings me to my assignments page. And this is typically the only page your field employee would see. They might see jobs depending on the level of privileges you provided them with. But I can see on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, hey, it looks like the 3 days this week I'm going to be working on wall framing. I'm scheduled to be there all day, but nothing on Thursday. Now let me show you what that looks like quickly here on a smartphone. Let's see. So if I was on a smartphone, this is the look and feel. As you can see, the action buttons are at the bottom of the screen. So I can go to Monday. I can drill into my, we call it the assignment, and then it brings up the large button. So I can just go to Overview, and I'm just going to go ahead and clock into my activity there. So now I'm started. I get the success message. All right. I just wanted to give you a quick idea of what it looks like on a smartphone. Here are all of my other activities. I can create a daily field report, change order, RFP, but I'll jump into those in a minute. So I'm going to go back over here and actually refresh this page real quick. So now I can see I have a green dot indicating that I'm started. I'm physically working on wall framing at Lamb Shoes. So you could have multiple assignments, think of those as activities, in a given day that they may need to document their time on. But let's go ahead and drill into this assignment. And once again, this is the tablet view. And I'm logged in as a superintendent, so I have access to not just the time entry components, but I could go over here. I can take a photo, attach a photo from my smartphone or tablet. But let's go ahead and circle out the time entry component. So I'm just going to go ahead and suspend this activity. So what that does is it runs the clock, and it automatically creates a time entry. So if I was to either look at it in detail, or if I just simply went back to my cover page here, I can now see that I worked 0.02 hours on that job for that cost code. Now what I'd like to do is I'm going to show you where does that go in 100 Contractor, right? So I'm going to bring up 100 Contractor. So let's go to payroll. If this works, 551. So if I go to payroll here, and I look, now so there's my entry. This is what I just created by punching in and punching out. There's my employee, and if I go to the right here, you should see all the additional details. So my cost code's there, my pay type's there, my hours are there. So what we like about this workflow is that all the information is stored in real time in daily payroll entry. So you have the option of modifying the time here or modifying the time in the Sage Service Operations interface, but really the database of record is that single accounting system, so it all stays and lives within 100 Contractor, which makes it really efficient for you to utilize. All right, so that's a punch-in, punch-out action. Now maybe, let's say you have a different approach to time entry. What if you have a superintendent, and that superintendent needs to capture time for a crew, and you want them to just to be able to plug in 4 hours for a specific cost code. We have additional options with that. We can go here, and I can go ahead and hit assignment time, and it's going to bring up a form. They would pick the job that they have access to. We can track a phase if needed. I can also pick a cost code. And then when we set up the superintendent, we will set them up and say, Jay also has the ability to enter time for Sean and Robert. Okay? And Jay's actually going to work 3 hours. He can actually put down, some comments, install pipe. And I can go ahead, and if needed, and this happens to be turned, I can also capture equipment usage. So I used a forklift, and we used it for 1 day. I'm actually not even going to, I'm not going to capture any time on the equipment. But we can capture equipment time. Let's just go ahead and save that time. So I just entered time for 3 employees in real time. So there's my 3-hour time entry for that cost code that I entered on the fly. So if I go back over to 100 Contractor, and let's go into 551 again, I should have 3 more entries. So there's my 3 entries for those 3 employees. And I can see there's my 3 hours for each of them. All right. Everything's pulls in based on the job setup hierarchy. All right. All right. So that's option number 2 of entering time. Now, option number 3 could be a combination of, punch in with the crew, or it could be single operator entry on the fly. But we also have the ability to create a daily field report if you're already using field reports of 100 Contractors. So let's create a field report here. I can select the job. I can go ahead, I can document other stuff like weather, temperature, and I can generate that field report. So we're actually generating a daily field report in 100 Contractor under document control in real time. I can add some notes. So great weather today. I can save those notes. I could actually add labor on here, and I'll show you where this goes in a moment too. So I'm going to enter labor for a couple of us. I'm going to pick a cost code. But obviously this layout is slightly different. It provides a little more flexibility to the person entering the time. And I'm just going to go ahead and save that labor. So now that labor is now in 100 Contractor, but it's in the daily field report record. I can also do other things like track an incident. So let's say we had an injury, finger. I'm just going to show you where this goes in the system. And he is okay. And I could also, over here, track, equipment usage as opposed to doing it through the time entry portion. So let's just say, let's put in some, so we operated the equipment for 2 hours on the job today. All right, so there's all those units. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that is generated within Sage 100 Contractor. So if I go back to Sage 100 Contractor, and if I go to payroll, and if I go down here to project management, and I go to document control, and I go to daily field report. So if I go to the last field report, that should be the one I just generated. So here's that field report. Remember I put down rain as weather. These are my 3 time entries right here. So that's the third option for entering time through Sage Service Ops for Sage 100 Contractor. But as you can see, I also I documented an incident, right? So if I click right here on incidents, I can see that incident, there was an injury to the finger. So all that data is stored in your 100 Contractor, which can be really beneficial. I can also see my equipment that I used on the site. This is all entered through Sage Service Ops. All right. A few other things that we can do with Sage Service Ops on the time entry side. If I go back to my assignments page, think of this as the weekly time card for this specific user for Jay. So at the end of the week, I enter all my time. All right. I want to go ahead and I want to basically sign off on my time and submit a paper timesheet with my signature on it. So I can do that. I can go ahead and sign my sheet, and I can submit my time. And what that basically does is the information is already sitting in 100 Contractor from a payroll perspective, but you're basically letting the office know that, hey, I've updated all my photos, completed all my entries, and you know that as of 1:18 p.m., the office can go ahead, review, and approve my payroll. All right. So once that's done, what else can I do as far as time entry goes? Well, maybe you have a supervisor that needs to review and approve the time entries, or maybe you have multiple layers of review needed. Maybe first the supervisor approves, and then the general manager needs to approve. So we do have the option to use the time review feature built in here. So I'm going to go ahead, let me fix these dates. Let's just go up a few days here. All right, apply those dates. So now I can see that Jay has submitted these 3 hours. I'm going to filter it so it's only submitted time. I don't want to show unsubmitted time. Okay, so now I can see the time that was submitted based on Jay's timesheet submission. So I can see that these are the 3 hours that Jay submitted for the week. It's pending the approval of the supervisor, his supervisor. I have the ability to edit the time entry, approve, or approve with comment, so forth and so on. Now, under this workflow step here, I only have one approver here. Depending on the type of record, you could have up to 4 separate people reviewing and approving time entry in Sage Service Ops. All right. So that's kind of a high-level overview of time entry, capturing time all the way through to the time review process that is available. Once again, you don't have to use the time review process. Now, a couple of other things on jobs that clients use all the time. We'll walk you through some of those. So if I drill in here, just drill into this job here. So if I'm a superintendent user and I have the privilege to drill into the job, there's a couple of other things that I can do. Just like that daily field report, I also have the ability to create purchase orders in the field in real time. I can create field reports. So I can drill into any field report I created. I can create an RFP. So if I go into an RFP here and I drill into one, this is the same information you would see within 100 Contractor. All right. So if I create an RFI from here and I added an RFI, I can pick the phase. Let me pick a different job with a phase. Well, I can do it with this job. That's okay. So let's add an RFI. I can say it's find a vendor here. Willie's Overhead Door. Client is McDonald's. I don't know, I'm just making up some information here. How do we So I'm just going to go ahead and create the RFI. So that RFI, just like that daily field report, that is now over here in 100 Contractor. So we created that RFI from the field. So if I go back into Project Management and I go to Document Control and I go to RFI and I go to the very last one, we should see my notes there. Yeah, RFI number 2. Willie's Overhead Door was the vendor. My notes should be right here. There's my notes. How do we fix the wall? So everything's very transparent. It's a quick way to kick off change orders, RFIs, additional information from the field. So if I go back to that job for Lamb Shoes, once again, I have the ability to create field reports from the field, requests for proposals, change orders, RFIs, and I can do other things like a safety form. And these are, you can create safety forms with SSO, and then we can check them off. We can have drop downs. We can have multiple people sign the safety form. So if maybe this is a job safety hazard analysis form you need to complete every morning, I can pass out around the tablet or smartphone and have every crew member certify they were there. We can also do some other cool stuff, like I can add a new sketch. Oops, that didn't work. That's because I'm locked out. So I have the ability to, let me see here. I'm going to go to a different screen. All right, so I can go ahead and add a new sketch, which I was just showing you. So I can go ahead and actually pull in that image that's associated. So I took a photo, and then I can pull it in an image, and I can say, here is a safety issue. or this needs a change order. So we do this is probably best from a tablet. You can also do it from a smartphone, but obviously the extra screen real estate works best. So I can go ahead and circle the issue. And I can use all these different types of tools here to mark up the form. We can play tic-tac-toe if we want to, right? I can do this, and then I can go ahead and save that sketch if needed as a PDF, and we can automatically route that to the office via an email. But that that sketch right here will live with that document. This might be a different one, but you can see that image is there. It's available, and we can do sketches on jobs and work orders. All right. So that kind of, I guess now might be a good time to open it up to any specific questions you may have.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. Question, can a tech record non-billable time?
Can a tech record, like miscellaneous time? We do support miscellaneous time. Let me see here. I got to clear my timesheet. But yeah, now is that, I guess the clarification, is that for like a safety meeting? So basically time not associated with the job. If that's the question, the answer is yes.
Okay, another question. Can the field report be customized with specific drop-downs in fields? To some degree. So if I go to, let me see here. It's a little different between 100 and 300 field report. We have lookups here. You can control, so this area right here is the field report. So you have the ability to customize some functionality. For instance, you can customize your user-defined field 1 and 2. And you can pick and choose which fields to show and hide. I don't believe we have the ability to customize the drop-downs. A lot of those drop-downs, depending on what they are, let's go to the field report real quick. So if I just go into a field report that's been generated, so let's go on this one here. So let's just go through this real quick. So subcontractors, this is going to search for vendors set up in your system, right? So that's where that's pulling from. Incidents, I believe this is, yeah, you can customize this list here. That one you can. Meetings, you can customize this list also. All right, that's customizable. Equipment is only available if you own the equipment module, and that's obviously pulling in right from your equipment module. Units, yeah, you can set up your own production units. These are set up in 100 Contractor. All right. Now, if that doesn't meet your needs, you can always just create a custom form to capture information. Perfect. I think that answers that question. Can you comment? Do you have experience with certified payroll, or any comments around that idea?
So certified payroll, to the extent it's support, if it's a certified job, we will document that time entry as certified in accordance with your existing Sage 100 Contractor payroll and job setup. So if the job's set up to account for certified payroll, we have SSO, this product supports that type of payroll.
Gotcha. And I would say that Sage 100 Contractor also has more functionality to deal with certified payroll. That's a bigger discussion that we would probably have to, pull apart on an individual demo basis.
Sure.
Can a tech access POs from Sage 100 Contractor, or do they need to make each one on the spot? And I think that answer is yes, right? They have access to all those POs that have been created in the past. Yeah,
correct. So if you give them access to purchasing, they'll be able to go over here and see where all of these could have been created in 100 Contractor. We're just giving you a flexible way of either creating additional records or looking up ones that were already created in 100 Contractor.
Perfect. Do you have a parts list that is being pulled from on those purchase orders?
Good question. We haven't done this in a while, so let's go see. I think we can do parts. I'm just going to generate a PO real quick. So you go to items. You can also attach like a packing slip to the PO. Yeah, so I can either do a miscellaneous, which would be just type in whatever you want. But if you wanted to actually use your parts inventory, so I can look up, maybe I was an electrician, right? I can look up wire, and we're buying 250 feet of wire. So now I just save that item to the purchase order.
Perfect. That's actually pretty cool. I hadn't seen that before, Jay. Can I add our own safety form to reports?
Yeah, you can. You can either use it creating a form builder, or you can just attach it as a form fillable PDF.
Oh, wow, that's great. Can this work on no internet or cell signal if techs are off-site?
So today there's only limited support for offline. So if you're offline, you put in a long note. We're not going to lose the note. We're going to prompt you to sync it when you're back online. It's not designed. It's designed for intermittent connectivity issues, like I go into a basement for a few minutes. It's not designed to go work in an oil field in the middle of nowhere. However, with that said, I know that the product management team is wrapping up the mobile applications, which will provide full offline support for the primary core functionality of the product. It won't be everything, but it'll be full support, offline support for things such as labor entry, notes, photos, things of that nature.
Oh, that's fantastic. Sorry, we're kind of jumping around. We got a lot of Q&A coming in. That's typically
fine.
That's a good sign. Question from James is, what if the time is associated with a job but will not be billed to a customer? So that's like an employee that is doing some error recovery on a job that messed something up and had to go back. So they want to enter their time for the company but not necessarily bill it out to the customer.
Well, I assume that you don't necessarily have to bill the time to the customer. Here we're simply at a minimum on a job, not a work order, on a job. We're at a minimum capturing the time for cost purposes. So, hey, we spent 4 hours of effort doing the rework. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to go in and bill out that extra time. That would be an activity. If you chose to bill that extra time, you'd have to go into 100 Contractor and create the bill. Now, that's a little different for if we're talking about a work order, but I assume we're talking about jobs here.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point to clarify here, is that today we were really showing Sage Service Operations as it relates to jobs. Now, the actual work order functionality for technicians going out on service calls, that would actually be, it's the same product, it's just a different workflow. Our focus today was really around job reporting for Sage 100 Contractor. And I'm going to pull up some contact information here soon, but if you guys do want some more personalized demo, we'd be happy to get that scheduled with you, either directly through Sage or through your local business partner that's out there. Okay. Jay, do you have any oil service companies offhand that are using this product?
I know we have companies in Alaska that I think they fix the pumps, but I'm not. I'd have to look. There's over 500 customers in the United States, Canada, close to 20,000 users using the product, and unfortunately, it's just hard to keep track of all the different customers.
Perfect. Okay. So if I import a change order into the office, does it sync, or do the users have to sync it somehow as a manual?
So if I go here to jobs, right? So if I go look at, let's see, let's go look at this one. I think I have change orders in this one. So if I go change orders over here, here's my most recent change order. So all of this information is this. So if I look at so if I look at any of this information on the change order, anything that's on it, we're reading directly from the 100 contractor database in real time. So there's no syncing involved. It's all real time pretty much. Even attachments, so if I took a photo in the field and attached it here, or vice versa, and we turned on attachments, we can push those attachments back into 100 Contractor, and we can also read the attachments from 100 Contractor.
That is excellent. I'm going to take presenter privileges back because we're at our time here. There are some more questions. If you guys do.
I can stick around. Me too.
Perfect. So our contact information here, if you have some more information, you can email me directly. You'll also have my contact information after I send you out the recording here. But if you want to take down my email and send anything specifically, I can get it out to Jay or anyone else on our team that needs to answer those questions. If you'd like to get a demo scheduled, probably, like I said, either contact your local business partner or you can contact us here, your customer account manager. General line is 1-800-858-7095. I'm going to close out the recording, but if you do have some more questions, Jay's able to stick around for a few minutes and answer those. So thank you, everyone, for your attendance today, and have a great day.